Hello. Welcome to Cineobox, your favorite movie analyst. I always say movies are made up by mood, setting, plotting and then character. All of these are called the element of filmmaking. Like we all know, you can't build a house without proper planning, budgeting and sketching. This is also applicable to filmmaking. You definitely need to sketch and plot the storyline to come with a perfect film. So how do we come with all that? So let's get to business. Element of film. First of all, we need an inspiration for a story. You can't just wake up and write a film, just like you can't wake up and just start building a house. You will end up doing total rubbish. First you need to imagine the structure of house you want, maybe a duplex or bungalow. It is also the same with film. You need to come with the type of film you want, maybe a thriller or comedy, or perhaps a fantasy film. Then you need to picture the storyline in your head. Yes, your head. All the movies you have watched are based on someone thought and fantasy. Movies are brainwork, although they might be based on true or real life event, but it was structured evenly in the brain. After the inspiration, we need a perfect setting for the story. Setting simply refer to the mood of the environment or a location where a particular scene takes place in a film. It also features slightest thing in the environment space. It include the weather and activities going on in the environment or scene in the movie. For example, in the movie, The Lost City, we could simply say the setting in the film is a jungle. The trees and the character makes up the setting, and in Titanic, the setting of the movies is the Titanic ship itself and then the Atlantic, although each scene in a movie has its own setting. Setting can be a difficult task. How do we know the perfect setting for perfect scene? First of all, know the genre you are working on. If we are making a drama, you definitely know the setting will feature realistic place and happening. For example, in location, it might features an office, religious center, market activities and street activities, etc. If you make fantasy film, you definitely know your setting is going to be a fiction and unrealistic location, like a city hanging on the air, or maybe the land of the dead, etc. So, knowing your movie genre helps determine the setting of a film. Next, the mood and condition of the scene. Definitely, if there is a war, the setting might be a desolate or catastrophic one, like people running for their life, and if the scene is in winter period, so we are definitely going to see a snow, so knowing the mood and conditions help you determine a set. Next on element of film, is the character development. We know the characters are the main key in film. This refers to people we see in movies. Their action are what draws us to watch the film. So how do we develop character? First of all, there are two types of characters in films, the protagonist and the antagonist. The protagonist is also known as the main character, or the good one in films. The film is mainly based on his or her actions. The protagonists are usually going to face conflict, and how they solve the conflict are what build interest in films. So how do we develop a perfect protagonist for our storyline? First of all, the protagonist should be neutral in terms of strength. He should have some strength and some weakness too. These keep everything balanced, because if the protagonist is too strong, that means he can't encounter any problem, because he will crush them down at once, and if he is too weak, we definitely knows he can never surmount his problem. So what is essence of watching a film that you can predict the end easily? So make your character neutral in terms of prowess. By that way, you keep everyone in suspense. Note that the protagonist moral or personal character has nothing to do with the aim of the film. Your protagonist can be a gambler, smoker, a shy type, lazy ass or even an assassin. All this personal moral has no effect on his role. Yes, I know he is the good guy, right? But his aim and role is to solve the conflict. Solving the conflict is what makes him the good guy, not his moral or personal character. Except that these are the conflict in the film, so it is cool if you choose to give your protagonist a bad moral or character. Next element of a film is the antagonist. Exactly, the bad guy. Well, antagonists are not only attributed to human. Antagonists are the person or force that create conflict and problem to the protagonist. They can be human, fictional creation, forces for example like natural disasters and war, etc. Personal character and emotions can also be antagonist in a film. For example, fear, or even sickness, brain capacity and feeling can be obstacle for achieving an important aim. How do we develop an antagonist in film? First and foremost, have the mindset that antagonists are conflict creator, and they go with conflict, and also ensure to make antagonist look unsurmountable and tough. This helps raise suspense in a film. Suspense is the salt of movies, they add taste to film. So antagonists should seem tougher at the beginning of the conflict, and also, although they are referred to the bad guy, they should have a good side of them. An antagonist might be a benefactor of an organization, or an antagonist could be a war to gain independence from a bad leadership. Well, antagonists are not that bad after all. Next of element of film is conflict. Before I start, have you ever watched a movies? At first, the film looks boring, because we just watching series of character living their normal life and then all of a sudden the normal life takes a new turn. At that point the film becomes interesting and we understand the aim of the film. Those sudden twists at the begin or mid of the movies is what we call conflict. This get the film started, it shows the aim of the film. It is the clash of two opposing forces to give the film direction. Yes, you got it right. It is the clash of the antagonist and protagonist. The process of the protagonist ending the conflict is what gives the film a meaning. They are very tense and comes all of a sudden to create a phenomenon or change in the smooth-going movie, smooth scene or boring. We don't want peace and we want war, we want conflict. We said the antagonist or the conflict creator, so the different type of conflict are protagonist against human antagonist, protagonist against himself, protagonist against the society, protagonist against nature, protagonist against fictional character and finally protagonist against technology. How do we develop conflict in film? First and foremost, know the type of conflict your genre needs. For example, in romance film, the conflict is definitely going to be emotions. Maybe Jack is too shy to approach Rose, so he is going to overcome his fear and approach Rose. This is a perfect example protagonist against himself conflict. His struggle to overcome his fear is what will give the film a direction, because we are going to watch, probably a 60-minute movie of how Jack is going to overcome his fear and approach Rose. Sound crazy, right? Secondly, when trying to create a conflict, understand the aim of the protagonist and put an obstacle there. For example, Jackie Chan, the harp girl and the American teenager, is trying to return the golden staff to the Monkey King, but not until they encounter opposing soldiers of the Jade Warlord. All of these makes the movies tough and raise tension, thousands of soldiers against 3 person. Oh my gosh. These 3 persons won't survive it, right? Well, this is movie. Yes, we know protagonist doesn't die in movies, but how can 3 people overcome thousands of soldiers before they reach the Monkey King? Well, watch the movie, The Forbidden Kingdom, and get your answer. Next, to keep the conflict going, we must use sub-conflict. This will lead to subplotting. For example, in Pursuit of Happiness, we know the problem of Chris was money. He need to make money, but the film doesn't just stop there and they didn't jump to the scene of him making the money immediately. Neither did he makes the money easily. He struggled before he made this money, and the little problem he encounters while trying to make this money is what we refers as sub-conflict. For example, his wife left him, he lost his medical machine and also, he lost his home etc. The sub-conflict are solved immediately. This is a success, that will lead to the greater success, which is the main aim. For example, Smith was able to move on after his wife left him, he was able to find a temporary shelter after losing his house. And then was able to recover his medical machine. Although his main aim is to overcome poverty, but little success are worth celebrating, so they count, or maybe, help us waste out time while waiting for the major success to come. In all these process helps the protagonist get more experience, knowledge and strength in handling the main situation. Next on conflict, raise the stakes and tension as time goes on. One thing you should know is that conflict are like an unwanted tree plant. They grows bigger as the time goes on, until they crush down, so when adding conflict in film, they should grow bigger or insurmountable as the film goes. Remember when you watch a film, after the protagonist has fought thousands of soldiers, he finally meet the warlord himself, which is stronger than the rest soldiers. This is what I mean, grow the conflict to the point at which the protagonist seem to give up the fight. Don't panic, your protagonist won't die, he will always find a way out. And also finally in creating conflict, there should be a stake in film. A protagonist won't embark on ending the conflict if he doesn't have anything to lose, so give the protagonist a motivation to end the conflict till the last drop of his blood. Probably, the Earth is going to be destroyed if the protagonist don't end the natural disaster. Probably Jack won't get Rose love, if he doesn't overcome his fear and approach Rose. The American teenager had failed to fulfill his oath, if he doesn't return the staff. All of these movies' elements seem very tasking and technical, but don't panic, that is why there is plotting. We are going to discuss how to plot movie and come up with a complete film in my next video. Ensure to subscribe and click the notification bell to get notified when the video drops. For now, goodbye and take care.